Hey everyone, here's a reader's workshop lesson for today. I noticed yesterday I didn't see much on the pad that I saw. One person went ahead and posted their understandings, which is great. They said that their schema helped them a lot. I'd love to know what schema, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what schema are we actually using to work through our text, because I want to start identifying what is our experience, what is our background knowledge, and what is our knowledge with the world too, and what text is also helping us that we can go back to as a resource, or if it's within the text. The reason those are important is because some are more reliable than others, and some things we might need to check more than those. For example, text-to-text schema is pretty reliable because you can look at the text and you can say what's happening. Text-to-self is reliable in terms of your emotions and feelings, but the actual experience itself may be different. It may not actually be reliable in relationship to like a text-to-text schema or some text-to-world schema. And then text-to-world schema could be, depending on where the resource is, that idea of pulling in background schema from the world around us and what that might mean. And then we're going to infer toward that world. So a lot of our text-to-world schema helps us put our inferences into the world and beyond just ourselves. So all those things kind of come together. So we want to be able to start identifying where our schema is coming from and what schema we're using, because that's going to help us make decisions as thinkers about what we can do with that information, and we can monitor for meaning more effectively on our schema. So here's an example of how we might record it. I'm going to read this piece a little bit. It's from I Survived, the Revolutionary War. It's just a couple pages. I thought it was a pretty interesting start. It starts just like this: August 29th, 1776, Brooklyn, New York. Nathaniel Fox was too young to be fighting in the Revolutionary War. He was only 11 years old, but here he was on a blood-soaked battlefield in Brooklyn, New York. Thousands of British soldiers were on the attack, and Nate was sure that he was about to die. Gunfire crackled through the air. Crack! Cannon blast shook the ground. Kaboom! Already one of Nate's friends was lying dead in the dirt, shot through the heart. And now he was running for his life. He tore through the thick forest, dodging trees and stumbling over rocks. His mind swirled with fear. Blood pounded in his ears. And then came an even more terrifying sound. Heavy footsteps were right behind him. Nate whipped his head around in panic. Over his shoulder, he saw an enormous soldier chasing after him. The man's musket was aimed at Nate's back. Attached to the gun's tip was a killing sword, a bayonet. Nate ran faster, desperate to escape, but he could hear the man's pounding steps and his grunting breaths. "I'm not a soldier," Nate wanted to scream, but it was too late. The man was closing in, closer, closer, closer. Nate braced himself for the killing stab. He was sure this was the end. And then came an ear-shattering blast. Boom! Nate saw flames, a blinding light, and then the world went black. What a great sensory image, or a terrifying one, depending on how you're looking at it. But I'm going to hop into my reader's notebook. So as I hop into my reader's notebook here, I'm on April 8th. I said I survived the American Revolution. I'm doing a quick one. So I started page 1, ending page 3. Normally I'd summarize what we saw, Nate, battlefield, and I would go into far more detail than that because I'd have read for about 45 minutes. But we're just going to stop at page 3. Now, there was a lot that happened there. Now, one way you might record your sensory images, I'm going to kind of do this and show you how to do it so you can walk through it too. This isn't how you have to do it, but it's one way of doing it. I'm going to insert a little table. I'm going to make 3 columns, one for text to self, one for text to world, text to text, text to world, text to self. I'm just going to put them here. And then I'm going to add a row. Text to text, text to self, text to world. And then I'll go ahead, I'll write it out. So text to text is schema that's helping me, that's from another book or from another text. Now, right here, maybe I'll pull out some of the articles that we've thought about on pre-Revolutionary War. I'm kind of citing them because I want to know where the text is coming from, and that's important for me. You don't normally need to do that with text to self or text to world because you can kind of see those things are, you can see where those happen naturally. Like text to self is naturally, you're citing it. It's you, it's your experience, right? So you don't need to do that. But text to text, I like to kind of say where it's coming from because that helps me again know if it's a reliable resource. And so articles on pre-Revolutionary War, there's some things of like clothing for the sensory image, right? So I know the clothing will be kind of like those short pants. I know that British soldiers will have red coats. And I'm just kind of jotting down some of my schema. I'm not writing exactly what it's helping me with right now. I'm just kind of jotting down my schema. Again, my text to text isn't necessarily my focus here. Text itself, when it comes through, thinking about how loud fireworks are. Cannon fire must be insanely loud. So I'm remembering being like really close up to fireworks and hearing that boom. I'm also maybe thinking about pain of loss, right? Maybe you've had a dog, a cat, a family member, you know, pass away or leave, and you're feeling that pain, and you understand maybe how Nate might feel when it says already one of Nate's friends was lying dead in the dirt, shot through the heart. Whoa, that's super intense. So there's a lot that we probably can't relate to that, thank goodness, but we can probably relate a little bit to that idea of like not losing a friend or a family member or a dog, cat, even like a favorite toy. So like you can still feel that grief. And just the fear. That fear and adrenaline that he's feeling. Now I'm going to focus on the text to world. This is really where I'm going to focus. We've done these two. We know the text to text. We know the text to self. Text to world is what I want you to hear what I'm doing now. I have more schema on this topic. It says August 29th, 1776, Brooklyn, New York. I'm going to think schema on the Long Island. It was an early Revolutionary battle. It was a famous loss for the Americans. England went on to occupy all of Brooklyn, or really New York. I know that it was very bloody. I also know that it was very terrifying. And it almost ended the war. Americans almost lost after the first battle. So this is my text of world. I'm pulling out things that I know are different ideas about this. It's historical facts. So here's some other things that I might pull in. And this is what I talked about a little bit in my writing yesterday that I wanted you guys to read, is that it's easy to do this with historical fiction, right? Because it's all based on real events in some capacity. So like if you're reading a historical fiction book like Making Moms for Hitler, right? Like there's a lot of World War II that you can pull and grasp from for text to world. And some of that might be from text to text. Some of these kind of bleed into each other. Some of your text to world might be from text to text schema. Probably not so much text to self unless you've experienced some things, especially with this, but sometimes that kind of works in, and that's okay. But what you're doing is you're identifying what's outside the text. What is this big world concept? But there are things that I want you to understand, like even in fantasy books like Harry Potter, the idea of like the mystery of magic and how there's a prime minister. I mean, we can understand that because we have a president, and we can understand how bureaucracy works, how you're watching the government system even right now work. Um, and move through things and seeing how the government in Harry Potter responding to Voldemort is similar to our government responding to COVID. Like it's all that text the world schema helps us understand. And so even without that, all of your books are drawing text to world schema. You're drawing a parallel, and the authors are betting on it. So I want you to be thinking outside the box. It may not be completely one-to-one, but there are things that are going to be similar that you just understand about other things that are about the world itself. And I'll tell you what we can do with that. But then here's what I'm going to do. This isn't my response fully, right? Because I haven't considered my focus question. How are you using your text world schema to better understand your text? I haven't addressed that yet, have I? I've identified it, but I haven't addressed it. So I need to do it. My text to world is helping me understand by providing a framework for me to have context. I've read the of um okay, so I wrote my 2 paragraphs. I might even do just a little bit more, but What you'll notice what I wrote about in this, my text world schema is helping me understand by providing a framework for me to have context on the experience. I read about the Battle of Long Island, can infer that many of the people around Nate have died or are running in absolute terror. In fact, I know that Washington almost lost the war at this battle. In this battle. This helps me connect my text to self schema. So I'm talking further how that text to world schema is helping me understand. With all this chaos around him from the battle, I can only imagine that Nate is absolutely terrified. I have experience with chaos and fear. When things seem to be crashing down around you, it makes your heart race, your palms sweat. You run, and that is what Nate is doing, running. I can only imagine how loud everything is when even my schema from fireworks reminds me how surprising a loud boom can be, even when you expect it. I am giving my understanding to this schema right here. This is what you're expected to do in full. Let me be clear on that. This is what you are expected to do. This is what I expect a fifth grader to be able to do. So I want to see a couple paragraphs of writing of your understanding of your text to world schema and how it's helping you understand your experiment with that, what it looks like, even any schema itself. Maybe you might tie in how it's making you question or monitor for meaning. Monitoring for meaning. All of those other thinking strategies are fair game too. But that's what we expect, everybody. So I want you to keep that in mind as you're going through these. After that, put like a little 1 to 2 sentence thing on Padlet so we can see what you were doing as classmates. We can see what text the world schema you were using, what you thought about it, and what you understand further from it. And I didn't even get into this question yet. How are you finding yourself change as a reader? So that's another one that I would probably add a third paragraph here. I would go on to probably answer that. I want to start the phrase I am wiser and go through those facts. All right. If you need any clarifications or questions, please let me know. Otherwise, happy reading. Give about 45 minutes of reading, 15 minutes of responding, and enjoy your books. Bye.